anything real is the absence of discontinuity. If you meet someone after a few months or even a few years, and then you have to restart a relationship, then that affirms that in the first place the relationship wasn't too deep or too real. You call someone up and then you just resume talking. As if somebody had just pushed a pause button in between the conversation, and then the pause button has been lifted, so you can just continue from where you left. That has a certain beauty and that has a certain relaxation. You don't have to enter into a strange and unknown territory. You are already there, so you can just get up and walk. You're not seeking entrance anymore. You're not seeking an invitation or a permission. You are already there with him. You don't have to reintroduce yourself. You don't have to establish a bond all over again. It's there. And because it was real, hence it is timeless. Time cannot touch it, dent it, or take away its strength. That's one thing that over the centuries India has stood for. And when I say India, I do not mean India as a nation or a country or as a political unit or as something that exists along with other separated entities. So I do not mean India and China. I do not mean India and Canada. I do not mean India and Australia. When I say India, I mean that depth in being, which was experienced also in this land. It can be experienced anywhere. So I say it was experienced in this land as well. So that's the thing that the word India stands for me. So here there has been a timelessness in relationships. You know what? I was driving yesterday and Osho was speaking. And he narrated a story about Kabir meeting Farid. So I'll tell you that story and then I'll tell you two things that are remarkable about that story. One that Osho pointed out and the other that he simply didn't point out. He said that once Kabir was traveling along with his students, or rather Farid was traveling along with his students, and he came to Varanasi where Kabir was there. You would have heard these names, right? Kabir and Farid. You haven't? These are Indian saints. These are Indian mystics of the Middle Ages. So, Farid was traveling and he's a mystic. He's a singer of love. And he comes to Varanasi and his disciples request him that Kabir lives here. Why don't you spend a couple of days with him? And we would be delighted to see you meet him. You would be meeting him and we would be receiving the nectar of this union. And similarly, Kabir's guys also get a whiff that Farid is about to arrive. They also request him that can we go and invite him to spend a couple of days with us? And the way you two will be with each other and talk with each other, that would be a tremendous learning for all of us. So it's fine. So they agree, and now these two are going to meet each other, and there is a great expectation on both the sides, among the students. They are expecting some tremendous chemistry, some spectacular fireworks or something. These two will meet and then there would be some divine explosion or that kind of a thing. And they come to each other and they look at each other and just say nothing. Very silently they just hug each other, and then there is a gentle smile. So gentle that you can even miss it. Find that students say that this must be some kind of mystical etiquette. Maybe we are not familiar with it. Let's wait. There still are 2 more days. So they keep following them like paparazzi wherever they go, and they want to see what is happening. And maybe one of them is carrying a recorder or something. Stupid. Nothing happens. At least nothing spectacular happens. These two do not talk much, and when they talk much, it is about inconsequential things. Would you like a cup of tea? And they are expecting that he would talk to him about Brahman. There is no Brahman, no Rama, no Krishna, no God, no divinity, nothing. He's asking, are you alright with these sandals? Do you require another pair? And then they are sitting together and having something, sipping it, not saying anything to each other at all. No introductions even. He's not even asking him, how have you been? How have you been doing? Nothing. Where would you go? Where do you come from? Nothing. When did you arrive? Can you stay beyond 2 days? Nothing. Just in front of each other, as if you are watching the mountains, as if you are breathing, as if it is something that you have always been familiar with, as if it is your timeless acquaintance. Do you see this? It is something that I have always been familiar with. In fact, it is something that has been with me even before I was with me. Since the beginning of time, or probably even before that, this thing has been with me. Where is the need to be introduced? Because wherever there is an introduction, remember that an introduction means a beginning. Every beginning is just an invitation to the ending. If you want to begin, you are just inviting a closure. If you do not want to come to a closure, don't begin. Resume. There is a difference between beginning and resuming. Do you get this? And that's the mark of a true relationship. It resumes. It doesn't begin. Because it doesn't begin, it cannot end. Now, so 2 days are spent like this. And there is a lot of frustration on both the sides now. The students are like, these two must be hiding something from us. There is surely some divine meeting going on when we go to sleep. So they take turns. Watching and guarding and eavesdropping what's going on. Nothing is going on. 2 days later, Farid just gets up and walks away. And this looks so strange, so utterly strange. Neither is there any emotional display, nor is there any kind of metaphysical drama. Nobody gives any kind of souvenir to the other. A simple see-off, that's all. That's all. And out of frustration, the disciples ask, why did you halt here in the first place? In 2 days, we could have covered some distance. If you had nothing to do with this man, why did you make a stopover? We could have kept walking and come closer to the destination. And Farid is saying, when you will have a relationship with me, like the relationship I have with Kabir, then you will understand. When you will have a relationship with me, similar to the one that I have with Kabir, then you will understand what is this etiquette of love. It cannot have rules, it cannot have introductions. It cannot have anything that appears like a jerk or spike in time. It's a continuity like the Ganga. When did it begin? Where is it ending? It's just a flow. It's not a spike. It's not a waterfall. There is nothing sudden in it. There is nothing abrupt in it. Are you getting it? Yes? Now this is the point where Osho ends. Now I want to add something to it. Actually, Kabir and Farid lived at least 200 years apart from each other. At least. It could have been more, not less. They could have never physically met. Never. This is the thing about meeting in love. You meet even when you are centuries apart. Osho didn't mention this. That's his mischief. He is a very naughty fellow. You can meet even when one belongs to the 14th century and the other belongs to the 11th or 12th century. You can meet even when one belongs to Eastern, what you call as Uttar Pradesh today, and one belongs to Punjab. You can meet. And you can meet as if you were never separated. Across lands, across centuries, you are united since forever, till forever. It's a very shallow love that demands the presence of bodies. Very shallow love. It's a very shallow love that proceeds on knowledge. And you see, what do we do when we meet each other? We ask. And when you ask, what are you doing? You are just gathering knowledge. Do you really need to ask how the other person has been doing? I seriously do not know when Jamie arrived in Rishikesh. I do not know, but though that seems like a relevant bit of knowledge. Isn't it relevant? When did you fly into India? I mean, practically that should be one of the first things that I must ask him. So, when did you reach? When did you land? I didn't. It seems so irrelevant. Because every arrival is just the beginning of departure. Why should I condemn him to depart? So I don't even ask him when and whether he has arrived. For me, he had never gone. Are you getting it? Relationships should not proceed on knowledge. But our relationships are so very dependent on knowledge. You get it? You get one bit of information about the other, it makes you feel so welcoming and so romantic about him, don't you? You just come to learn that your girlfriend or your wife or your friend has sent you greetings. Now, what are these greetings? These greetings are just a piece of knowledge that has entered your mind, right? Had the greetings been sent and you would have had no cognition of them, would you have still felt equally good? So what is making you feel good? The greetings or the knowledge? Please. The knowledge, right? Our love proceeds on knowledge. Our love proceeds on information. Your friend has been talking about you behind your back. Till the time you do not have this information that he is doing these kinds of things, the relationship remains smooth. The moment you come to learn that he has been doing all these things, the relationship gets rough. Now, what has spoiled the relationship? Something essential or a bit of information? A bit of information. Our relationships proceed on knowledge. Your wife might be seeing somebody, let's say another man, since years, and your relationship would remain wonderful till the time you do not discover that. Now, one day you discover that since the last 5 years, your wife has been involved with another man as well. And remember that these 5 years she has been wonderful with you, good with you. But just now you have received this knowledge that these last 5 years she was seeing someone else. And now those 5 years have been ruined for you. I want to ask you, didn't you live those 5 years with her? But it doesn't matter how one lived. What matters is the knowledge one has, the opinion one has, the information one carries. And this one bit of information just kills those 5 years. Does it not? Does it not? Our relationships are not from the heart, they are from the mind. That is why they proceed on knowledge. When relationships are from the heart, then no knowledge matters. It doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter what your age is. Nothing that can be expressed in words, as a number, as a fact, as a figure, as anything ever then matters. You do not ask the other person, so how much do you earn? You see, he tells you, I earn only this much. And the relationship takes one color. And then after a while he discloses, you know what, I earn 10 times the amount I told you. And the relationship suddenly becomes better, improves. You feel as if he's been with you since ages. He's made for you, of course. We are soulmates. Now what has changed? Has your I changed? Has your being changed? Has the other person's being changed? No. What has changed? Knowledge. Some knowledge. You have just received some information, and that information, mind you, may again not be a fact. That information may again be just an illusion and a figment. That's how we live, that's how we proceed. That is why, in love, it is obscene to ask too much from the other. Love does not ask for details. Love does not ask the other person, so where have you been and what have you been doing? Love doesn't ask the other person, with whom have you been eating, walking or sleeping? Love only sees what is the quality of the thing between you and me. Do our hearts resonate? And it is only when hearts do not resonate with each other that you bother too much about details and statistics and numbers and facts and figures and such stuff. There is this beautiful story, The Little Prince. I hope most of us have read it. There is a small boy in it. It's a very small story. You must buy that. It must be available in Rishikesh. There is a small boy who wanders into a strange land. In fact, into a strange planet. And there he keeps on meeting things and people and trees and flowers and animals. And he keeps on developing relationships with them. He makes friends with a few people. With others, his relationship has a different nature. And he falls in love with a rose. You know what? He falls in love with a rose flower. At one point he says, grown-ups are such fools. Whenever they meet you, they ask about things like your name, your nationality, your planet, your age. Is this the way to know somebody? How do you know a butterfly? By asking about its species? The name of its species? No. To know a butterfly, you must have love in your heart. Only in love do you know. How can you know someone? By knowing his demographics, his economic details, his ideology, his past. No, that is not the way you can know someone. And if that is the way you know someone, if that is the way you relate to someone, then your relationship is very choppy. It cannot pass the test of time. Because knowledge is always dependent on time. Knowledge is never ever complete. Time is always adding to it. Time is always modifying, subtracting, giving it different hues. You had built a relationship on a particular kind of knowledge, which you thought to be representative of truth. That knowledge will yield. That knowledge will disappear, get distorted, and then your relationship too will crumble. If knowledge is the foundation of your relationship, then it's a very weak relationship. Are you getting it? I cannot be in love for what I know about you. Please. Love is something else. And that is why love always must have a certain mystery about it, a certain mysticism about it. That is why it has been aptly said that unless you love God, you cannot love anybody. What does that mean? Please understand. To love God is to love the unknowable. What knowledge do you have about God? Do you have any knowledge about God? Oh, leave aside those fairy tales. Ascended from the heaven, came up from the river, fell straight from the lap of God, born out of a virgin. Leave aside those stories. Do you really have any knowledge about divinity? Is divinity something that lends itself to knowledge? Yes? To love God then is to love the unknowable. Are you getting it? Hence, loving God is the most dangerous love affair. You are loving somebody about which? About whom? You do not know anything. Now, unless you love God, you will never have the guts, the balls, the gall to really risk loving. How do we love? We love in security. We first want to gather all information about the other. Does he have insurance? How many brothers and sisters does he have? In how many parts will the ancestral property be divided? How much will he get? Let's get all the medical tests done on him. Do our blood groups match? What do my parents have to say about him? What does the detective agency have to say about him? We first gather all this information, this knowledge, and then we say, I'm now prepared to, fall in love with you. With God, you do not do that. You cannot do that. Why? Because God is unknowable. That is why loving God is fundamental. Loving God is the riskiest love affair. You are loving a total stranger. With God, there is nothing like acquaintance. To the mind, God is a total stranger. Absolute stranger, not even his name can be known. For yourself, for your own solace, you may accord him 1,000 names. But did God ever come and say that his name is God? To the unknowable, you may keep attaching your own imaginary bits of knowledge. But the unknowable never himself certified that all your claims are true. Did God ever descend and say that all your religious scriptures are now sanctioned by him? Come on, please. You may keep speculating. All of these things are our fanciful imaginations. And we are arrogant enough to say that, they are the words of God. Seriously. Why would he send only his word? If someone loves you, why won't he appear in totality in front of you? Why would he keep sending you just love letters? That too once in 10 centuries. One prophet is arrived and the next one will come after 10 centuries. What kind of love affair is this? Would rather have a breakup. One date and it's not even a date, it's just a message. One message in 10 centuries. Dude, do you want to continue with me or not? God is not doing all these things. Surely He is present all the time and intimately in front of us, but not in the form of mental knowledge. You cannot know anything about Him. And then, in the same recording, the speaker went on to talk about Farid, and one of his couplets says, and Farid is talking about his own state. He says, "न समझे न जाने न बूझे." That is his state. He says, I do not know anything, I do not understand anything. And this is coming from a man of absolute realization. Are you getting it? He's saying, I do not know anything and I do not understand anything. What he's saying is that he is speaking from a point free of knowledge. When he's saying, "Na samjhe na jaane na pooche," what he's saying is, it's not knowledge that he's playing with. Are you getting it? Do not love anybody for a reason. All knowledge just gives you reasons. If you love somebody for a reason, then the moment the reason expires, the love too will expire. That again brings me to repeat the point that unless you are madly in love with God, you cannot be in love with the world. You cannot be in love with anybody. Love God first, and then you will find that you are spontaneously loving everybody. That love will not be of the shape and form and characteristics that we usually associate with love. For us, love is a certain sweetness. For us, love is about behaving nicely. For us, love is a cultured and acceptable way of conduct. No, the way you love God is the way you love man. The way you prostrate before God is also the way you make love to your girlfriend. If you do not know how to prostrate before God, forget it that you can sleep with your girlfriend. These two are either one or both of them are parallelly just debauchery. Are you getting it? Love without reason, love without information, love without knowledge. Just love. Ask yourself, if something about the other changes, would I still be in love with him? And if the answer is yes, then wake up. Then you are loving for a reason. If I receive a piece of news about the other, would the relationship change? If yes, then there is something very amiss. Are you getting it? For love to be timeless, it must be reasonless. Because reasons are what time gives to you. Reasons are what experiences give to you. And you like only those reasons that are favorable to your ego. Do you like the other for just any reason? No. You like the other for a particular reason. And that particular reason is the one that is sanctioned by your ego. Is it not so? No, that is tremendously difficult. Tremendously difficult to just love. We say, well, the other has to be first of all worthy of love. He must be lovable. And if he is not lovable, how do I love him? That is right. in its own place, that is very right. But even when the other is not worthy of love, can you have the right relationship with him? That right relationship is then love. Love is nothing other than right relationship. If the other one appears very worthy, you have one kind of relationship. If the other one does not appear worthy, you have another kind of relationship. What is common between these two? They both must be right. This rightness is love. In the morning, the doctor goes jogging with his friends. Then he has a game of tennis with his friends. And then he comes to the hospital where he is treating his patients. And he tells one, you will not move from the bed. You will not lift even a cup. You will not turn over to the other side. In the morning, he was jogging, playing, smiling, walking, and here he is telling one not to move, he is telling the other not to talk. Don't you see, both of these are just right. This is the example of right relationships. And hence, there is love in both the relationships. There is love with the one he is playing, and there is love in the relationship when he is instructing to not to talk, not to walk, not to turn. This rightness in relationship is love. If you are someone who can run, who would enjoy running, I would run with you. That is right relationship. If you are someone who should rather take bed rest, I would not allow you to even get up. That is love. So do not equate relationships on the basis of conduct. With the birds fly, with the fish swim. That is right relationship, that is love. If you tell the birds to swim and if you tell the fish to fly, that is sheer cruelty, that is not love. And if the fish is foolish enough to ask, why don't you fly with me? You surely are biased towards the birds. I always see that you are flying only with the birds, and whenever you come with me, you just keep diving. This is not fair, I tell you. And the birds often equally are jealous. You know what? You take bath only with the ones you really love. With me, you are always so dry. There, you are always wet. Diving, swimming. Why you never wet with me? The birds are so foolish. Are they not? Love lies in right relationship. When you love God, you also know God's love. He arranges and He then gives you complete freedom. That is love. Everything is well arranged, and within this arrangement, you still have complete freedom. You even have the freedom to say that God does not exist. That is love. And God really holds nothing against you if you claim that God does not exist. He says, fine, I do not exist. Yesterday I was doing Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 with a group of friends. And verse 11, it never fails to kill me. Krishna says there, to you I would always be what you are to me. जो मुझे जैसे बचता है मैं भी उसे उसी रूप में बचता हूँ. That is God's love. The way you look at me is also the way I look at you. It is not a matter of equality. It is not a matter of sameness. It is something else. The tiny insect lives for just a few hours. That's his entire lifespan. And then there are tortoises that live for a couple of centuries. They live really, really long. Is God partial? No, not at all. That's love. There is a mighty lion. And then there is a helpless rabbit. Such partiality, such favoritism. Surely the lions have bribed him. Why did he give nothing to the rabbits? All they do is run around and hide and shiver. All the colors to the bird, and black and white and grey to the crocodile, and such ugliness. The fellow that needs to get a skin job, a dental job, look at the skin. And look at the coat of a deer. Why should the crocodile demand, "Sir, I need a makeover"? And the panda is teasing the crocodile. And everybody is so fond of pandas. Have you ever seen anybody having a stuffed crocodile, not a real one, a stuffed crocodile toy on his bed? Even a lizard, when you want to scare someone, you throw a plastic lizard at him. Why should the lizards complain? What is this kind of love, God? All the prettiness has been reserved for the deers, for the rabbits, for the birds. And the snakes, and the rhinos, and the crocodiles, and the monitor lizards. Oh, you have huge lizards in Australia, right? Why have they not been given any bit of the attractiveness? Right relationship. To each his own. If you go to the Ganga, you find there is fine sand. Then you find that there are small pebbles. And then you also come upon giant boulders. All are right in their own place. That is love. Is it not? The blade of the grass and the mighty tree. The sand and the boulder and the pebble. But man compares, and comparison is knowledge. Man compares, and comparison is mental activity. Whenever you compare, you have to quantify, you have to measure. The moment you measure love, you have lost the immeasurable. You spend 2 hours with her, and just 20 minutes with me. Is this your love? No, come on. You are proceeding in the wrong dimension, not in the wrong direction, in the wrong dimension. The dimension of love is non-numerical. It is not something that you can measure with a tape or with a clock. Neither in space nor in time. Neither a measuring tape nor a clock. Yeah. Please keep speaking. Otherwise, I'll simply occupy all the time.
This understanding of love would simply imply that none of the relationships which I have fall in the category of love.
Yes, but that is not something one must primarily wonder about. Because one must primarily wonder only about the primary. And what is primary? What is primary? Your relationship with the Absolute. If that one primary is taken care of, all the other relationships will fall in place. It's not for nothing that the saints have said that take care of the one and the many have been taken care of. And you keep attending to the many and you will have equally many troubles. Take care of the one. That simplifies it so much for us. You don't have to waste yourself in miscellaneous occupations. You don't have to be divided and fragmented and take care of this and then that and have a, I have to speak to mother. That is one fragment and I have to somehow manage the relationship. I have to speak to my boss. I have to speak to my neighbor. I have to speak to the corporation. Speak to father, speak to wife, speak to my kids. You don't have to manage all of these separately as isolated units. You just need to manage one and you'll find that spontaneously, almost magically, all are being self-managed. That's the fun, magic and the reward of spirituality. Those things are being taken care of that you are not even bothering to care about. That is falling in place of which you have no consciousness, no knowledge. You don't even know that behind your back everything has been taken care of. There is this beautiful story. Krishna had a childhood friend by the name Sudama. Now, Krishna, after defeating Kans, is the emperor. And he has left the city in which he spent his childhood. He has come to another city far away. And he is living in a palace now. Sudama is still in the old place. And both of them have now grown into men from the boys they were at the time of their childhood kinship. Now, Sudama is very fond of the relationship, though he has now not seen Krishna since years. And he keeps narrating it, even boasting about it. He has a wife now and kids. And he is living in poverty. One day, the wife gets fed up. She says, you keep on saying that you have had such an intimate relationship with Krishna, who is the king now. How do I know? How do I believe? And what kind of friend is it that does nothing for you? Here you are living so abysmally, and there he is enjoying the riches. So Sudama says, no, it is not this way. The wife says, come on, then prove it. Dama says, fine. I am going to Krishna. He proceeds towards Krishna. He comes to the palace and he has several doubts. He even starts thinking whether Krishna would recognize him anymore. But Krishna comes to know that he is arriving, and he comes right to the palace gate to receive him, and very lovingly he takes him, makes him sit on the throne. He washes his feet. And Sudama forgets all about the reasons why he had come to meet Krishna. He is so overwhelmed by the love that he forgets everything, just totally forgets. The palace, the riches, and the bountiful love. And days pass by, and when the entire week is gone, he says, Master, friend, Lord, I want to return now. And there is nothing more that I can ask in this birth. What I have received is much more than what this little mouth could have hoped for. And when he comes back, he finds that his little hut has been turned into a mansion. He didn't ask for it, it happened. The story puts it quite mischievously. The story says, he comes back and he sees his wife and he sees his kids and he sees this opulent place and he feels that must be somebody else's wife. And he asks the kids, hey, stop by. There used to be a poor man, Sudama's hut here. Where is the hut now? He's asking his own kids. And you know what? Close to this mansion, this very place, there used to be a little hut. Somewhere around here itself. Where is that hut? And the kids are giggling with their palms on their faces. Goes to his wife and says, lady, noble lady, rich lady, have you seen a poor woman somewhere around? She was my wife. And the wife and the kids also have some fun. And then they tell him that this is what. You get the essence. You go to meet the one and you don't ask anything. Your purpose is just to meet. And the rewards are multifarious. First, you get to meet him. Second, you find that the world has been taken care of. You take care of the truth will take care of the world. As Sudama, you just attend to Krishna, and Krishna will take care of everything else. So you don't have to worry about all your relationships. You worry about just one. And that one, I assure you, will take care of all your relationships. Conversely, if you find that you are struggling in your relationships, that means just one thing. And what is that one thing? You have not taken care of the one. And when you have not taken care of the one, it is not in one relationship that you will be failing. You will be failing in every relationship. Now let me ask you, when you have trouble, is it ever limited to one relationship? Come on, please. Is it just one relationship that troubles you? No. In fact, it is the very chemistry amongst your relationships that simply tears you down. Does it not? When the mother is fighting with the daughter-in-law, then the husband suffers unspeakable agony. So both the relationships are being destroyed parallelly. His relationship with the mother and his relationship with the wife. So rarely would you have trouble in just one relationship, because you live in a network. And these nodes have a way of interacting with each other. You getting it? Take care of the one and let the one take care of everything else. That's faith. That is also the highest intelligence.
So what does it mean to take care of the one?
Attend only to Krishna. Keep away thoughts of the many. What does it mean to attend only to the one? Let's come to this. To attend to the one means that whatever be the situation, wherever I am, my concern is truth. My concern is truth. I want to know. I want to be with the reality. I don't want to live in illusions. That is what it means to attend to Krishna all the time. That is what it means to attend to God or truth all the time. So if you are here right now, you are here. If you are here, that is your homage to Krishna. Because you are attending to the truth. How else can you attend to the truth? By flying away? No. And that is also what is meant by devotion. You are devoted only to the reality. Because there is nothing else to be devoted to. You can only be devoted to the real. You are devoted to that which is. Are you getting? That is the meaning of intelligence. That is also the meaning of devotion. I will not live in a make-believe world. I really want to know when I stand in front of the river. I just don't escape into my fairyland. I just don't stand there and imagine this and that. I see the river, I see myself, I see the connection between everything, and all of that just happens in a flash. It's not something that I think about, remember. Attending to the truth does not mean thinking about the truth. It means immediate realization, and that immediate realization can happen only when you have been careful enough to not to let thoughts swarm upon your mind. You need to have a very clear mind to immediately realize. This movement is a very good example. What I am saying could be directly piercing your heart or could be just coming and bypassing you. Either there is an immediate understanding or there is some kind of confused gathering. That immediate understanding is truth, God, Krishna. Nothing else. We are not talking about some holy fellow. We are not about history. We are not about mythology. We are just using them. Are you getting it? We are using the old story. That does not mean that the old story is the truth. We are using the old story to come to this moment because nothing else matters. Life is here right now. So I might be taking the name of Krishna or Christ or Buddha many a times. But seriously, I have nothing to do with history. I don't have anything to do with my own history. Why should I bother about the history of some other fellow? Are you getting it? It is not something of a burden. It is not something that you have to do. Attention is the most natural thing. And it does not have a consequence. It does not leave a trace or a conclusion behind. And that's its greatness. And that's the biggest relief it can offer. It leaves nothing behind. It leaves just nothing behind. If standing by the river, you come to a conclusion, then that is not attention. You do not sit here to not to be attentive, do you? So you are defeating your own purpose. If you ask me what if attention is not there, then I'll ask you why are you sitting here? Do you go to the river to not to meet the river? Are you sitting here so as to escape me totally? If you are sitting here to meet me, and if you go to the river to meet the river, then by not being attentive, you are defeating your own purpose. By not being attentive, you are defeating the very essence of life. You are against yourself. It is suicidal. Yes? So don't do that.
As you said, we proceed in knowledge in relationship. We proceed in knowledge in relationship. So there, some knowledge comes, and whether love pierces the heart or not, knowledge will attack the mind. So what should be or what can be done in such a situation? Because love persists, that's a different part.
Yes.
But the mind has to deal with the knowledge.
Yes.
So how to deal with that?
Let the mind gather the knowledge. It will tell you something about the material. It will tell you something about things at one particular level. And at that particular level, your conduct may change. At that particular level, you may decide for other modes of working or other channels of energy. But love at its own level should remain untouched, undiminished. Are you getting it? You see, I have the knowledge, for example, right now, that your back needs support. So, particular chair has been arranged for you. That is the effect that knowledge has had upon my action. Are you getting it? Because I right now know that your back needs support, so this knowledge has enabled me to provide a chair to you. But should that affect the way I speak? That's what I'm saying. These two are different dimensions. These two are different dimensions. My relationship with you cannot depend on the state of your back. My essential relationship cannot depend on whether you sit on the floor or on the chair. Do you get it? So when I have certain knowledge about you, that will of course alter the way I relate to you. But that thing that gets altered has to be superficial, has to be peripheral. Isn't it peripheral whether you sit on the chair or you sit on the ground? Isn't it peripheral? Does it make a difference really? What is it that makes a difference? Whether you are really present. That should not be changing.